And what is up, everybody? Welcome back once again to Epic Students Online, my Epic week number
And what is
4.
up, everybody? Welcome back once again to Epic Students on.
My bad. Still figuring all this stuff out. I apologize. So here's the deal. It's week 4. If you're out there,
And what is up, everybody? Welcome
I
back
don't know why
once again to Epic
that is
Students
still happening.
Online, my Epic
Well,
week number. And what is
4.
up,
I've got some
everybody?
mental problems. Apparently. Hey, look. Here we go. Hopefully that's fixed. As I was saying, if you're out there, make sure you let us know in the comments. I've already seen from a lot of you. So real fast, what's up, Abby? What's up, Lori? What's up, Will and Alexis? Jennifer, how you doing? Abigail Rogers, Sarah Rogers, Braylon, how's it going? It's great to see you guys. If there's anybody else out there, drop your name. I know this week's going to have not as many people as we've been having because a lot of folks are on vacation, stuff like that. But I'm so thankful for those of you who are out there with us, who have decided to join us for, again, week 4 of My Epic Summer. And yeah, we're going to get started. Today's theme is Independence Day. I'm wearing my Nike Statue of Liberty shirt to celebrate. Braylon, what's up? You have a guest. Is it the same guest as last week? If so, what's up to you, Bayla? If not, let me know who it is. Anyways, I don't know. I've seen that some of you guys have been tagging us on Instagram and stuff the last little while. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. But you know the drill, all right? Independence Day is the theme, so something that is connected to that theme, whether it's the Will Smith movie with aliens and stuff like that, or if it's red, white, and blue, whatever works for you. Just be creative with it. You have until Friday to tag us in a post with you wearing red, white, and blue, and you'll get credit for that. All right, so we're going to just go ahead and get started. We're going to jump in to our first game because it is Independence Day weekend. Something that happens every Independence Day is the Nathan's Coney Island. I think it's Nathan's Coney Island. I don't know what company it is. There's a hot dog eating contest. I don't know what that's going to look like this year, but these people eat hot dogs like so many hot dogs. It's crazy. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a game called Suns Out, Buns Out. All right, and it's all about hot dog trivia, basically. Oops. And so basically what's going to happen is in the comments, you are going to just write your answer to each true or false question. I'll put a little break in there after each one, and we'll go back and we'll tally who has the most correct answers at the end of the game. All right, these are all real simple, just true or false. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time letting you answer. Anyways, here's the first one. All right. True or false, ketchup is the most popular hot dog condiment. All right. True or false, ketchup is the most popular hot dog condiment. I'm just going to wait a few seconds for you guys to start dropping some answers in the comments. And then once we've got kind of everybody dropping some answers in the comments, once we kind of got everybody answering, all right, so there we go. We got Abigail with true, Sarah with true. So once we have some of the rest of you guys filtering through, Will and Alexis, make sure you answer individually. Braylon, you and your friend, your guest, answer individually as well. Whoever else is out there, make sure you're answering. All right, so we got a good mix of trues and falses here. All right, Lori says true. Abigail, Sarah all say true. Abigail again, Braylon. Everybody's saying true except for Richard. I guess I lied. We don't have a good mix of true and false. We just got most of the trues. But the correct answer is false. The most popular condiment is mustard, and ketchup is second place. I cannot eat a hot dog without both ketchup and mustard. I used to hate hot dogs until I was like, I don't know, 28. Anyways, but now they're all right. But only with ketchup and mustard. Anyways, here's the next one. In New Zealand, they do not eat hot dogs in buns, but typically on a stick. Is that true or false? That in New Zealand, they do not eat hot dogs in buns, but typically on a stick. Mustard by itself is gross, but mustard on a hot dog is a must. Okay. Anyways, New Zealand, true or false? Hot dogs not in buns, but on a stick. Which of those is accurate? All right, we got Sarah going with true, Abby going with false. Waiting on a few more answers here. I know there's other people out there. All right, Will and Alexis are both going with true. Jennifer's coming in as false. Lori says false. All right, Braylon says true. And Abby's going false and Richard's going true. All right. I think that's everybody. Okay, Braylon's guest says false. Braylon, you can introduce us to your guest and tell them their name. Guest is not. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. The answer is true. They batter it and eat it like a corn dog. I mean, isn't a battered hot dog, isn't that just what a corn dog is? Anyways, whatever. Next question. Between Memorial Day and the end of May and the beginning of September, so June, July, August, about 3.5 months, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, Americans consume 7 million hot dogs in just America. Is that true or false? True or false? That in those 3.5 months, Americans consume 7 million hot dogs. Will and Alexis are going with true. Not each, Sarah. No, total. All Americans. All 300 million Americans. I think we'd all die. All right. Jennifer's going with true. Braylon says true. Dominic, that's his name. Hey, Dominic, how are you? He says true. Abigail Brakefield says true. All right, waiting on a couple more people. I keep forgetting y'all can see me in the bottom corner there. I'm doing my little dance. All right, I'm waiting on you. Abby Rogers, we're gonna wait for about 3 more seconds. There's Lori too. All right, Lori says true. Sarah says true. There we go. Abby's in as well. She's got true. The correct answer is false. 7 billion. They ate 7 billion hot dogs in 3 months. If you think about it though, anytime I go to a cookout that has good hot dogs, I will usually put down 2 or 3 of them just by myself. So, anyways. All right, Coney Island record for most hot dogs and buns eaten is 72 in 10 minutes. Is that true or false? The Coney Island record for the most hot dogs and buns eaten in 10 minutes is 72 hot dogs. Is that true or false? Okay, Abby says false. Sarah says true. Richard says true. Jennifer says true. Abby says true. Alexis and Will say true. Who am I waiting for? I'm waiting for Lori, and I'm waiting for Braylon and Dominic. Man, I forgot again that you could see me in the corner. All right, I'm going to wait a couple more seconds for y'all. I'll let you jump in there, and then I'm just going to go. All right, there's Brandon and Dominic. They both say true. Lori, where you at? There you are. Cool. All right. The answer is true. Joey Chestnut ate 72 hot dogs in 10 minutes, and that is disgusting. All right, last question for now. If we go back later and see that we have a tie, we'll go do a tiebreaker. But anyways, true or false? Hot dogs have been eaten in space. True or false? Hot dogs have been eaten in space. Abigail's going with true. This is a good question. I wonder. All right, Sarah says true as well. Jennifer says true. Braylon says true. Dominic says false. Lori's going with false. Abby Brakefield says true. Who am I waiting on? I'm waiting on Will and Alexis, I believe, is all that's left. If I'm forgetting you, if you're out there, please forgive me. They both say true. The correct answer is, oh, Richard didn't answer yet, but that's all right. Richard, get your answer in the next couple seconds if you want to. All right. The answer, that's the wrong thing. The answer is true. True. Apollo 11 astronauts enjoyed it more than freeze-dried ice cream because freeze-dried ice cream is not good. That's probably why they enjoyed it more. But anyways, I'm back on the big screen. So we'll go back through. I'll go and tally, and if there's a tie, then we'll just give everybody can have those points, okay? Because otherwise I'd have to go back through and analyze everything right now. I've been doing that, by the way. When we play these games, whoever gets the most right is getting an extra 500 points per game. I don't know if you knew that or not, but it's true. All right. So, anyways, we're gonna jump to one more game, and this is just a who. I'm just writing down some stuff here so I keep track of who wins each one here. And this game is called Altered States. So give me just a second to pull that one up for you. Boom, there it is. All right, so this game is called Altered States. Basically, what's going to happen is kind of a geography game, but again, Independence Day, United States of America. That's the loose connection for you as to why we're playing this game. But here's how it works. All right, I'm going to show you a picture of a state that is in the United States of America, but it is not going to be properly oriented. It may be upside down. It may be sideways. It may be inverted. It may be any of those kind of things. It may be all, well, I don't think it's going to be all of those things. I don't know if that's possible. Anyways, it's not going to look the way that it's supposed to. As you even see there in the slide, that is an inverted version of the United States of America. You got Maine all the way up there in the top left corner, and then California's on the far right. That's not the way that the nation actually looks. You know that. You understand that. You get it. You understand how the game works. Here we go. First person that I see with the correct answer. And there's multiple choice, so you're only going to be choosing between three. So here's the deal. You can't just type the letter. You have to type the name of the state. I will not count an answer that just types the letter. It has to be the name of the state. It's okay, though. You've got choices. Here we go. Is that Texas, Hawaii, or Michigan? Remember, do not write the letter. Write the name of the state. This one's easy. Easy one out of the gate here. Texas, Hawaii, or Michigan? First name I see in the comments is going to get the point. All right. Alexis didn't follow directions, so Abigail gets that point. It is Texas, and I'm trying to write Texas as the answer, as the person who got the point instead of Abigail. All right, quick reminder, you can't write the letter. You got to write the word. I'm not going to count your answer if you don't write the word. Here we go, number two. Oh, obviously that is Texas. All right, number two, is this Vermont, New Hampshire, or Delaware? Once again, I forgot to check the answer. I'm pretty sure I know what it is. Hopefully I'm right. We're going to let a couple answers come in here first. Is that Vermont, New Hampshire, or Delaware? All right, so we've got one answer for all three. Sarah says Delaware. Abby says New Hampshire. Lori says Vermont. I was wrong. It is Delaware, which means that Sarah gets the point for round two. All right, here we go. Here's round three. Is this Arkansas, Georgia, or Missouri? Remember, it's not in its correct orientation. Is it Arkansas, Georgia, or Missouri? I thought that last one was Vermont. I can't remember if I told you that. All right, I got a Missouri, I got an Arkansas, I got a Georgia. Okay, so I've got one of each. The answer is Georgia. All right, a lot of those states down there in the southeast look very similar to one another, but this one is Georgia and Braylon, you are the one who said the correct answer first. All right, next one. Is it Oregon, Washington, or Arizona? This is a little bit of a tricky one. Abby, why are you saying you suck at this? You got the first point. Anyways, Oregon, Washington, or Arizona? All right. There's an Arizona, there's a Washington, and there's an Oregon. All right, we got one of all three again. And the answer is Oregon. All right. I actually thought it was Washington too, Lori. I knew it was one of those two. But good try, everybody. Alexis, we're just going to give that to you. So there we go. We're going to do one or two more. Next one is that Maryland, West Virginia, or Alaska? I'm sure you'd do better, Abby, if they were in their correct orientation. Is that Maryland, West Virginia, or Alaska? I'm almost positive on that one. Okay. All right. We got a bunch of Alaskas, but it's West Virginia. Fun fact, and Jennifer got that one. Fun fact, West Virginia is my least favorite state in the country. Well, it's tied with Ohio for different reasons. Anyways, I don't love West Virginia. I don't feel safe there. Here we go, number 6. Is this Mississippi, Alabama, or Idaho? See, this looks a lot like Georgia, doesn't it? They both have those weird little tail stems down there, or up there, or whatever. Is this Mississippi, Alabama, or Idaho? Okay, we got a couple Idahos. It's not Idaho. It's not Idaho. All right, there we go. It's Alabama. All right, good job. Lori, you were the first one. We got that. So basically, we're going to keep going until someone gets 2. I've got a different person who has won each round so far, so we're going to jump to number 7. Is this Arkansas, Rhode Island, or South Carolina? I think this may be a little bit of a tricky one. All right, is it Arkansas, Rhode Island, or South Carolina? Okay, Alexis coming in with Rhode Island. And that is correct. They make it look bigger than it actually is. Rhode Island is the smallest state in the country. So, Alexis, you are the winner of Altered States. Congratulations to you on winning that game. Everybody else was all tied for second place because pretty much everybody got one right up until that point. But anyways, we got one more game, and we're going to jump to a Zoom call where we're going to play an elimination game. So let me tell you, while you're listening to my message, wherever you're sitting at, if you're watching on a phone, on a laptop, whatever, between now and the start of the Zoom call, you need to get a marker if you can. If not, if you can't find a marker, a black pen, ink pen, no pencil, that won't work. All right. So we prefer a marker, a Sharpie, a washable Crayola, whatever works for you, but a marker of some kind if you can. If not, then a black pen and then some paper. It can be scrap paper, it can be printer paper that you fold and rip or whatever. We're going to play an elimination game on Zoom. It's going to be awesome. The last person standing is going to get 1,500 points. Second place is going to get 1,000. Third place is going to get 500. So that's how that's going to work. We're also going to do some other stuff on Zoom in just a little while. But before we do any of that, I got a quick message to share with you guys. And I'm trying to figure out the place to put these notes where I can see them and you don't have to look at my head. Hey, there's the place right there, right in front of me. What a novel idea. Anyways, if you have questions or anything about this message or anything else that we're talking about during the time preaching it, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment box as you're watching. But anyways, I'm gonna put the link for the Zoom call in the comments right now because last week I put it in there too late and then you guys couldn't find it, and I had to text it to a bunch of people because I shut it down. So you can jump to that Zoom call whenever you want, but the link is there. It's going to be there for a few more, or till the end of our time together tonight. So anyways, Independence Day is our theme for My Epic Summer Week 4. 244 years ago, not today, but on Saturday, on July 4th, the United States of America declared its independence from British rule. And ever since then, even though slavery was not abolished until 1865, people who called this nation home have been in love with the idea of freedom and liberty, right? We wear clothes proclaiming it and celebrating it. We sing songs about it. We shoot fireworks off. I don't know what fireworks have to do with freedom and liberty, to be honest with you, but they're fun and loud. But freedom is a big thing in this country, and rightfully so. The United States was one of the first democracies in the world, and while this country is not perfect, and we do have some work to do together to get it to an even better place, it is a privilege to live in this country and to enjoy all kinds of rights and freedoms that many other people across the world do not have. But tonight is of freedom and liberty that our country stands for. I want to talk about a different freedom, or rather a different level of freedom, if you will, because even though, slavery was outlawed in America almost 200 years ago, the Bible teaches us that each of us tends to remain in bondage all these years later to one of two things. And we're going to look at those two things and the kind of freedom that Jesus offers from both of them. This is not going to be an in-depth study of either of these things. If you want to go back and read the two passages of scripture that we're going to talk about tonight, I recommend it, because there's no possible way for me, I try to keep these My Epic Summer messages pretty short, and so there's no possible way for me to really dig too deep into everything that this covers. But I wanted to talk about this idea of freedom, and the Apostle Paul represents it in two different passages. The first is Romans chapter 6. And he talks about how before Jesus, we were all slaves to sin, right? Before we turn our lives over to Jesus, we are slaves to sin, but Jesus came to set us free so that we could serve and submit to God. And Paul said in verses 19 through 23, he said, because of the weakness of your human nature, I am using the illustration of slavery to help you understand all this. Previously, you let yourselves be slaves to impurity and lawlessness, which led ever deeper into sin. Now, you must give yourselves to be slaves to righteous living so that you will become holy. When you were slaves to sin, you were free from the obligation to do right. And what was the result? You are now ashamed of the things you used to do, things that end in eternal doom. But now you are free from the power of sin and have become slaves to God. Now you do those things that lead to holiness and result in eternal life. And this is a verse you've probably heard before. For the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ, our Lord. So like Paul says, this is only an illustration, and it's not meant to be understood that we're literally slaves to God. All right? One of the great things about following God, I believe, is that he gives us free will. He lets us choose to follow him. So we're not slaves to God in a literal sense. It's an illustration that Paul's using. And rather, he's helping us understand that when we obey God's commands and seek his righteousness with extreme dedication and obedience, that's when we're kind of living out what we're called and created to do. Jesus came to break the chains of sin and set us free from the consequences of it, which is death, so that we could walk with God and have eternal life because of Jesus' sacrifice. So we've been set free from sin. Being set free from sin is so much greater than being set free from British rule or any other kind of thing. We've been set free from the power of sin. We've been given the opportunity to walk in righteousness by following Jesus and living the life that God has created us for and called us to. All right, we've been given that chance to choose to be quote unquote slaves to righteousness, to choose to do whatever we can, to let God's plan and call and purpose for our lives dictate every action, every decision, every attitude that we have. All right, but a lot of people, they take this idea way too far and they start trying to live perfect lives without ever sinning again. So in Galatians 5, Paul wrote about another kind of freedom that we've been given. He said in verse 1, so Christ has truly set us free. Now make sure that you stay free and don't get tied up again in slavery to the law. So now Paul's bringing back this illustration of slavery, and he's saying, hey, you were set free from slavery to sin. You were in bondage by it, slavery. Your own selfish desires was controlling your thoughts, your actions, and your attitudes. Jesus Christ came to set you free from all of that. You're truly free. Now make sure you stay free. Don't get tied up again in slavery to the law. And now slavery to the law, what he's writing is he's writing this to a group of people who were so consumed with living righteously that they thought they could earn their way to perfection, that they didn't need God's grace. They thought they could live righteous without God's help. Without Jesus' sacrifice, they could live righteously. All right, we call this legalism. It's this idea, this self-righteous idea that we can live to such a standard that we now deserve God's grace, that we've earned all of the free gifts that he wants to give to us. And Paul spends the next 11 verses of Galatians chapter 5 explaining how no act of obedience to God's law can save us because we've already been saved and set free through Christ. He's like, it makes no sense. He's using again the illustration of a specific piece of Jewish law, circumcision. He's saying, if you think that circumcision is saved, it's done for you. But that same thing applies to us. If we think that following all the rules or going to church all the time or living a certain way or praying a certain amount of hours or minutes or reading our Bible a certain number of chapters, if we think any of those things are going to make us a better person or more deserving of God's grace, we've already lost sight of what Jesus came to do, and we've become slaves to legalism, and Jesus came to set us free from that. And then in verses 13 and 14, Paul writes, "For you've been called to live in freedom, my brothers and sisters, but don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature." So he said, don't be slaves to legalism, but don't go back to being slaves to sin either. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. For the whole law can be summed up in this one commandment: love your neighbor as yourself. So in these two passages, just to kind of summarize, Paul is saying that we have been set free from sin and self-righteousness, from licentiousness and legalism. Licentiousness is just a fancy word that means sinfulness, or having no moral code, but I like alliteration. So we've been set free from sin and self-righteousness, from licentiousness and legalism, so that we can walk in love and grace of Jesus Christ, and so that we can choose to surrender ourselves to obeying his commands and walking in his righteousness, which is not earned, but given. And so here's why this matters to us. Right? Slave to sin, to be a slave to sin means doing whatever we want, whenever we want. It means having no real control over our own selfish desires, but ultimately it leads to death. It says the wages of sin is death. When we step so far outside of what God wants for us and what he's called us to do, we're going to be lost, we're going to be hopeless, we're going to be in a dark place when we become slaves to sin. But to be a slave to legalism means thinking we can earn God's grace, but ultimately that leads from us being cut off from Christ because we've been trying so hard to earn something that we already have access to. True freedom, Jesus, he says, for you've been truly set free. True freedom is so much more than just being free of British tyranny or tyranny, however you say that word, or being able to do whatever you want. True freedom is being free to follow God's commands, all the while knowing that when you mess up, not if, but when you mess up and fall out of line, God's grace is still going to be available to you. See, so often we paint this picture that if, as Christ followers, if we mess up one time, then we've lost, we've blown it, we're screwed up, but that's not it. That's legalism, and Jesus said, I've come to set you free from that. I want you to walk in righteousness, knowing that when you fall out of line, I've got grace for you. And don't use that license to go do whatever you want and say, oh, God's got grace for me. Woohoo, I can do whatever I want. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, look, you're a human being. You're going to mess up. That's okay, though. It doesn't make you a failure. It doesn't make you worthless. It doesn't make you a loser. It doesn't disqualify you from my grace. It just means you got to get up and keep trying. That's what true freedom is, to know that our salvation is secure no matter what we do, no matter how many times we mess up, but choosing not to use and abuse that grace to do whatever we want. Right, there's a song, I think it's called Holy Water, but it says, I don't want to abuse your grace, but God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. Or we don't want to abuse God's grace by just saying, oh, God's got grace for me, I'm going to do what I want. but we still need it every day because we're going to mess up every day. And so we need that grace. And that's what makes us want to change is when we consider the magnitude of God's grace for us, we realize, man, as many times as I've messed up, God's still there. He's still waiting. He still forgives me. He still restores me. He still helps me, even when I don't deserve it. Right? So you're free to put your trust in God and surrender to his plans for your life, to become, as Paul says in Romans 6, a slave to righteous living. And this is what Paul is talking about in Galatians 5, when he said that we should use our freedom to serve one another in love. He said that all of God's commands can be summed up in this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. What this means is living selflessly, putting the needs of others above our own, doing all that we can to live the kind of life that points other people back to Jesus. And what Paul's really saying here is that you and I have been given the freedom to discard our freedom and live selflessly, live for others, live in a way that points others back towards Jesus. And I know that's kind of confusing, but just understand this. Jesus came to earth as fully God and fully man. He had more freedom than anyone has ever had or ever will have again. He had more power. He had the liberty to do whatever he wanted because he could work miracles. And yet he chose to use that freedom to demonstrate his own love for us while we were still sinners. We didn't deserve it. We didn't earn it. But he chose us, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He used his freedom to love us in ways that we didn't deserve, and that's what we're called to do. We're called to use our freedom, not to abuse it, to use it in ways that impacts the lives of others and points them back to Jesus. Let's pray real fast, and we're going to play one more game, and we'll jump to Zoom. Hey, God, I just thank you for the freedom that you've blessed us with. God, the freedom from sin, the freedom from self-righteousness. God, and the freedom to choose you, the freedom to follow you, to obey you, to become, as Paul said, slaves to righteous living, and living in a selfless way that loves one another, that loves others, that puts their needs and interests above our own and points people back to you. God, that's true freedom, and I thank you for that. If there's anybody out there watching tonight, God, who needs to be set free from sin, if they're struggling with a specific sin, or they just need to be forgiven and have a fresh start, God, I know that you can do that right now. If that's you and you're watching this, all you have to do is pray, hey, God, I believe in you. I believe you want to set me free. Please forgive me for my sins and give me a fresh start. You pray that prayer or anything like it, boom, it's done. God, if there's somebody out there who needs to be set free from legalism or self-righteousness, or maybe the ugly cousin of that, someone who feels like a failure because of how often they mess up, I pray that you would remind them that you have grace for them, God, every single day. You love them. You've already forgiven them. You're willing to restore them. God, that you don't expect them to be perfect. You just want them to keep trying. And I thank you again, God, for the freedom that we have to be used by you. I pray that you would begin to use each of us this week to make a difference in the lives of others, to light up the darkness around us in a way that points others back to you. I pray that we'd all have a great weekend celebrating the freedom of our country, and we'd all stay safe and nobody would get their arm blown off by any fireworks. In your name we pray, we all said, amen. All right, we're going to play one more game. This is going to be another first one to get the correct answer kind of game. Let me pull it up. It is, how much do you know about U.S. history? All right, how much do you know about U.S. history? And then remember that the Zoom link is over there in the comments. I'll post it one more time once the game is over. Excuse me, and we're going to jump to Zoom. If you don't have it yet, make sure you get a marker, preferably, if no marker, a black ink pen, and some paper, something to write about. All right, once again, it's multiple choice. This time you can write the letter. All right, you don't have to write the name, the full answer. You can write just the letter. All right, the first question is real simple. Which country sponsored the voyage of Christopher Columbus to the Americas in 1492? Doesn't have a ton to do with U.S. history because Christopher Columbus had never stepped foot in what is now the United States of America, at least not to my knowledge. But he's somebody who is at least tangentially part of our history. So, which country? All right, Alexis got that one right. It is Spain. Braylon, you got it right too. So far, no, yeah. All right, it's Spain. So you can write the number or the answer this time. But the first one was Spain. All right, boom, there you go. Got it. Next one. Who wrote the lyrics to the Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem? Is it 1, Francis Scott Key, 2, John Stafford Smith, 3, George Washington, 4, Lin-Manuel Miranda? Woo, I think so. Man, I forgot to read the answers and say Djibouti last time. That's my favorite country, Djibouti. Anyways, Jennifer Brakefield is jumping in here with the answer. Jennifer got it. It is 1, Francis Scott Key. All right, good job to you also, Alexis. Remember, I told you, you don't have to write the whole answer this time. That was the States game where you missed the directions. Now I'm telling you, you can just write the number. All right, here we go. Francis Scott Key. Whose large signature is the most famous on the Declaration of Independence? Is it? This is a weird question. This is a subjective question. Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, John Hancock. Now, who wrote it? All right, but whose large signature is most famous? All right, Lori came in with John Hancock. Braylon's got John Hancock. Alexis has got Benjamin Franklin. Jennifer's got John Hancock. It's John Hancock. He had apparently just a big old signature. I don't know if he's really remembered for anything else other than that, the big swooping signature. I'm sure he is, but if he is, I don't know what. Good job, Lori. Here we go. Which country did the United States acquire land? I'm sorry. From which country did the United States acquire land in the Louisiana Purchase? Oh, what's up, Des? How you doing? Is it 1, France, 2, Mexico, 3, Texas, or 4, England? All right, Alexis coming in with France. Abigail's got Mexico. Lori's got France. Okay, Texas is... okay, it's France. Thank you. All right, Alexis has got that one. We got a couple more, and we're going to jump to Zoom. All right. In which war, this is a scary one, in which war were the most American lives lost? 1, the Civil War. 2, World War II. World War I, I'm sorry. 2, World War 3, World War II. This is confusing. Or 4, the Vietnam War. So 1, Civil War. 2, World War I. 3, World War II. 4, the Vietnam War. So Alexis is coming in with the Civil War. Abigail Rogers is second place or third with Civil War. Probably got a lot of Civil War answers. Once again, I kind of forgot to check the answers before I did this. So we've got all Civil War except for Des. So it's the Civil War, which is really just not good. All right. And so that means that Alexis, you win again. All right. We'll go back and look at the true or false in just a little while. We have another game where the top 3 finishers are going to get points on Zoom. So if you want to jump over to that Zoom call, I'm going to get the meeting started right now while I'm on this YouTube Live. Hopefully it doesn't cause a bunch of squawking and squeaking to occur through my webcam. I don't know if it will or not. I guess we'll see. But I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave this live open for just about another 1 or 2 minutes, so you guys can click on that Zoom link. And hey, it's me. And we're going to play one more game. Make sure you got a paper or some paper and a marker if you can. If not, then a black ink pen. First place in that last game is going to get 1,500 points. Second place is going to get 1,000. Third place is going to get 500. So a great way to get you some points, get yourself kind of up there on the leaderboard. A few people are jumping on now to the Zoom call. So I'm going to close down this live, and I will see you guys in Zoom. If you're watching this after July 1st, July 8th, next Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m., twins is the theme, or twinning, I think. Check our Instagram to make sure. I'm almost positive that the theme is twinning. Hopefully I'll see you there. All right, guys, I will see you the rest.